Hi, everybody. Okay. Something a little different today, and I hope you bear with me, but I'm going to try to talk through some videos and some evidence that we have presented. And I wanted to start off with what I talked about yesterday with Candace Owens. Not today's live stream, but yesterday's. I thought it was had a lot of good points in it, good information that has to do with our son's case. So let's get started. We're at day 1986 days since our son, Richard Halliday, the Distinguished Honor Graduate. What does that mean? He was number one in basic training, number one in AIT. He was a stellar soldier, and he wanted to be CID. And when all of this started, when he was whistleblowing and the retaliation came continuously and severely, very severely, he asked for a transfer. He asked to be deployed again. He asked to be deployed again, and that's on record. And I think that's a really important point that I tend to not make as much as I should. So he was under whistleblower protection, and he um, told me, told our family that he feared for his life, and he was very isolated, and it was all the COVID stuff too, in 2020, and I didn't quite understand everything at the time like I do now, but they were retaliating against him and he asked for a transfer. He asked to be deployed again somewhere. Um, and of course, they wanted to keep him close because they wanted to take his life. He was too much of a risk. If it was just the trafficking that he was reporting on, then I think that they would have let him go. But because he knew, because his unit is connected to the Walmart mass shooting, because he knew information connecting the Fort Bliss, the military on Fort Bliss, to the Walmart mass shooting, and he was reporting that. They then doxed his name. We know this from the assistant special agent Connell Wetton in the FBI office there, field office there in El Paso, that he's the one that um, leaked Richard's identity to the cartel. The next thing you know, uh, El Mayo's lawyer, El Mayo Zampata, the billionaire narco cartel leader, sent his lawyer to Richard for counterintelligence to see what he knew. And soon after that, Richard's life was taken. So he uh, and that puts together how they forcibly removed him from his room, right? Because the prime suspect is his platoon leader, Dallas Hart, and very connected to the cartel, very connected to how do we know that? Because of Nadal Bayim, his connections with Bradford Bugado, who was a lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, Richard's command. Um, all of these connections we've filed, and of course, Tavita Nusa being in the CID, now he's not anymore. His credentials were terminated. His badge was revoked. That's his cousin. Solomon Nusa is also his cousin. He's major with the um, mortuary operations, and the common denominator through all of this. And I've said, it's a Mormon faction, but it's also mortuary and funeral home members. So this was a funeral home and mortuary affairs, Mormon faction, cartel, fraud scheme, criminal trafficking, you named it. And they did it through the funeral home industry that were they were transnational. They had their funeral homes in El Paso. They were allowed to operate in El Paso and also on the Mexican side. And so they could cross easily. They had, of course, Delia Briones in the county clerk's office. She's proven to have tampered with records. We've proven that. We've filed that information. Of course, this is why they could forcibly remove him, take him to a soundproof room, which was the arms room in the same building, in the basement. And we put up the pictures and the video of that. And I probably should do something like that. What I'm doing right now, with the arms room, because it's really important. And that was a God-given gift. Really, it's just amazing how all of this evidence has come to us. God's hand has been on all of this, and we're very grateful for it. So when they took him there and they took his life, of course, we know that part of this Mormon faction was the director of emergency services, Thomas Kane. And he's revealed a lot of things, and absolutely confirmed Richard's death. And of course, he's in control of all of the surveillance videos that Mitch Snow was asked about by Stu Peters. They know who did this to Richard because there's so many surveillance videos everywhere. But when you have the DES, the director of the surveillance videos, in your pocket, willing to tamper with evidence, hide evidence, turn videos off, and things like this, or keep them from us. Yeah, it lets the criminals get away with terrible, terrible things like what happened to Richard. So Richard's body was stolen off of Fort Bliss and trafficked to Mexico, where terrible things happened. And we believe that there's a huge possibility, because of the recent arrest of La Diabla, Martha Alicia Mendez Aguilar, that Richard's organs were harvested. And that's why, because of all of the talk that, the fear in people's eyes, the horror in people's eyes, was so bad. I just can't even tell you. We knew something terrible had happened because people were shaking and people were just very, very nervous. So let's see if I don't know if I'm getting signal. I hope I am. Please let me know. Thank you, Laura, for coming on. Okay, so let me go through this video of yesterday and compare it to our son's case. I think it's really important. Let me see. I got that and I got that on. So let's see.
That this episode is being brought to you by Nimi Skincare. I am very intentional with the brands that I work with, and Nimi, Utah, down to Panguitch, Utah.
Okay, so sorry I didn't.
A little bit of adrenaline, right? Maybe even the thought of what he had just done for the very first time might have made him physically ill.
Okay, so what she's talking about here is Tyler Robinson. That Tyler Robinson, you know, when you take someone's life, right, especially as openly as Charlie Kirk's life was taken on camera, okay, for the world to see. When you take someone's life like that, and it's kind of goes to Patrick Crucius too, who is accused of being the Walmart shooter. When you do something like this, you have evidence on you. A lot of times, especially when you're young like that, you'll throw up. You know, you'll be sweating profusely because of all the adrenaline there, you know, and this is a normal thing that you see with these kind of crimes. There is some kind of physical evidence for what you've just done. And so that's what she's talking about here.
Like we would expect him to maybe lose his lunch, not exactly pop over to a nearby Dairy Queen to have lunch, calmly have lunch and just begin texting his lover. Which is why I was very surprised to learn of what Tyler Robinson did thereafter. Ready? Tyler Robinson, we can exclusively confirm to you all, drove 3 hours away from Orem, Utah, down to Panguitch, Utah. I hope I'm saying that right. A lot of the cities sound weird. I think it's Panguitch, Utah. I'm showing you a map of that distance. It is just under 3 hours to get there. And what was he doing there? You're probably wondering, did he meet up with somebody? No, he was alone. And what we can tell you that he did when he got there was that he pulled into the Cowboys Smokehouse on North Main Street. He grabbed himself a seat at the bar at this steakhouse, and he ordered himself some more food. Specifically, Tyler Robinson ordered a steak, medium rare, with mashed potatoes and vegetables. There were 3 servers that...
Yeah. So did you hear that? This is the evidence that we have run into in our son's case. Very, very typical. I mean, kind of the type of evidence that we've run into, and the reaction to the evidence that we have run into. And let me make sure I turn this off while I'm talking. Let's see. I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to extend this because I want to get to this part too. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I hope that works. But I wanted to really, here is Tyler Robinson. Look what he is accused of doing. Everybody that has kept up with this case, where he gets up on the roof, he's changing clothes on the roof, he's taking apart the rifle, he's putting together the rifle, he's putting the rifle in his pants, and then he's going down, and then he's dropping it off in the woods area, and then, and then he goes to a Dairy Queen and gets an ice cream, and then he drives 3 hours, and he goes to a steakhouse, and he orders a steak and potatoes and vegetables, and pays with a credit card, right? And this is how Candace got this information. And he paid with a credit card, so she knows exactly who he is and what he ate. And this is the point that I want to make, that she makes, that the feds, that the investigators never went down there. Never went down there. Remember with, if you've been keeping up with our case, Danae Katzen, they never And until we just nagged them to death, they never interviewed her, right? And she turns out to be part of them, part of the cartel. Of course they don't want to interview her because they know exactly who she is and what she's doing, right? And now she is a most wanted fugitive, right? For like the fourth time. Um, and married to Jonathan Ambrose, and all part of this funeral fraud, insurance fraud, mortuary, LLC for money laundering, credit card fraud. All of that is incorporated in this group of people, getting the Walmart mass shooting funds distributed to you illegally, right? So that's like a payout. Um, so that was very, you know, uh, it was just like, okay, they did this in Charlie Kirk's case where they don't go and check up on this kind of lead where their narrative, the suspect went and ate and sat and how did he act, and so Candace Owens called them, and he was like very normal. He wasn't nervous. He wasn't looking over his shoulders. He wasn't shaking. He was just texting, right? He was just texting and eating his steak and mashed potatoes and vegetables. And, it's just bizarre. It's just so bizarre that those that are supposed to be investigating that we pay, you have to understand, we pay so much money to these law enforcement agencies, to do their job, and they're hijacked. They're hijacked by criminals, and we're paying them the criminals. Um, and now you see in Minnesota, um, this incident that happened, and President Trump is trying to reestablish some um, kind of order, right? And with the ICE, and people have no respect for the law enforcement because for years, we've had this kind of mess, and it's just uh, you know we have to have the law enforcement, but they have to be absolutely scrutinized all the time. You can't have your law enforcement being hijacked like it has been. It's been hijacked, especially along the border, especially along the border. But I want to say, even in our area of South Carolina, it's the indications are that it's being hijacked by, politics, really. Politics, so they don't run by the rule of law. So this was really no surprise to us when she was saying this because we've been living it. The other thing she talks about that and I think that's huge, shocking news, when you have this suspect, getting ice cream and then going getting a steak dinner. It's just, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like Patrick Crucius surrendering twice, and the timeline in the Walmart mass shooting case doesn't allow for him to really have time to surrender twice, but he did. And so that is evidence of multiple shooters, right? And they just shut that possibility down. They just shut it down right away on that very day of August 3rd, 2019. August 3rd, by the way, is Dallas Hart's birthday. Just saying, right? And they shut down the possibility of multiple shooters, even with the testimony of Glendon Oakley Jr., right? And of course, he was found not alive in April of 2020 in his barracks room on Fort Bliss. So, they had all of these witnesses. We have videos of witnesses. We block their faces because we're, trying to protect them. That said there were multiple shooters, um, and the timeline demands it because Patrick Crucius, of course, he's almost blind. I mean, he's blind without his glasses. He's totally blind. He can't see anything. And we showed that video. And then, of course, he couldn't tie his shoes when he was 18 years old. He's autistic. He has severe mental health condition. He failed kindergarten. He was banging his head on the sidewalk. He doesn't have the mental ability to carry out something like the narrative demands. And so we want to show a little bit. And let me see if I can pull that over.
There is someone else.
Oh, yes. Okay. Before I change over. So Candace Owens goes on and on about the child exploitation, the worst type of crimes against children. Okay, I'm going to say it like that. The worst type of crimes against children, that everywhere she looks around the Charlie Kirk case and these individuals, it leads to that. It leads to the worst type of crimes against children. And we know that in our son's case, he was reporting to CPS of the worst type of crimes against children. We know we have the affidavit from Leilani Hart, who is a prime suspect in our son's case, who confesses in a notarized affidavit to the worst type of crimes against children, pornography, and also facilitating the worst type of crimes against children, not reporting the worst type of crimes against children, and also the illegal the possession of unregistered illegal firearms, and also that she has an immigration issue, And so, and she has multiple names and everything like that. This is Dallas Hart's mother. So, I didn't tell her to say that. I didn't tell her to say that. No one told her to say that. She submitted that affidavit. She had it. No, we talked to the notary. She uh, she had that notarized. She filed that confession. I didn't tell her to say that. I didn't know who she was at the time. So she and when did she do it? July 2020. Absolutely the same time that Richard's life was taken. And uh, and she showed reaction because of Judge Roger Rodriguez's complaint that he filed um, in his official capacity as judge of the foul play of the confessing of tampering with Richard's file, of Tavita Nusa leaking these files, tampering with the files, confessing to hurting Richard. Um, and all of that is in his official whistleblower complaint. And that's why he received retaliation, because he became a whistleblower, just like what um, uh, Mitch Snow was saying. If you become a whistleblower, you're targeted. Well, that has to end. Why are these predators and monsters being protected when the whistleblowers, who want nice things in life and justice in life and children being treated properly and women being treated properly, why should they be targeted? Why should, um, that just destroys our country. So the criminals are being protected. And this is why I really believe what Candace Owens is saying is right on the money. This is about a sickness of wanting to hurt children. And I shouldn't even call it a sickness. This is a crime. It's a total crime. Wanting to hurt children in the worst type of ways and have access to children. And this is, of course, corroborated by the hundreds of thousands of children that were trafficked just in a little over a 2-year period through Fort Bliss. Hundreds of thousands, and they called them unaccompanied minors. And what you heard from Mitch Snow is that they would take children away from their parents, uh, unjustly. And we know that in El Paso, because we broke this story, that the judges in the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court that decide these things about children and parents and custody and all of that, that they are all illegal. That these judges are all illegal, that they are appointed. Why are they appointed? Since 2015, this um, judicial court has full a countywide jurisdiction. And with that, the Texas Constitution says that those judges have to be elected, right? There has to be scrutiny with that kind of power. And so, how many of these children were unjustly taken away from their parents, from their family members, right? That is, and led to being abused the worst type of way, what Candace Owens is describing by Fordsham, um, David Fordsham, right? I hope I'm saying his name right, who was running the trafficking and pornography ring in Arizona, right? Right there at Fort Huachuca, giving access to children for soldiers that need to face court martial, right? They need to face court martial because he was giving access to soldiers, to these children. Um, and that means that we have some sick soldiers, monster soldiers. I don't want to call them sick because it's not a disease. Um, it's a crime. These criminals. So she just revealed this, and um, that it's connected to the Farnsworth family. And the Farnsworth family, uh, we've been reporting on them for a long time, for years. That was one of our big leads, is the Farnsworth. So that connects Charlie Kirk's case with our case once again. That's another point that connects the Farnsworth uh, lead connection. And in Charlie's case, the guy, in many ways, but the guy that Terrell Farnsworth, who took the SD card out of the camera, right, and tampered with the crime scene. And that's another point. Richard's crime scene was tampered with. Major General James Eisenhower gave an unlawful order to have the crime scene totally renovated, without any expense spared, without any normal protocol for bids um, and contractors and things like that. He absolutely, and that was confirmed to us by DES Thomas Kane, right? This illegal order of the renovation of the crime scene, which is tampering of the crime scene. And we also know that the Walmart mass shooting crime scene was also tampered with. And I have video to prove that it was tampered with, and I'm going to show it to you. I'll show it to you right now. Let's see if I can extend this out so I can get to it. Okay, this is a post. This is a post. Let's see, what do I want to start with first? Yeah, I'll just go through these quick pictures. So here is, this is so interesting. I'll try to get it a little smaller. Yeah. Um, so this is very interesting. This is, and I don't know if I can expand it much. Let's see. Oh yeah, I can. Okay, good. Okay, here we go. So this is Alexander Gerhard Hoffman wrote, right? Or you can say it in English, Roth. Um, this is a younger picture. This is an older picture. He came, and we know this because my parents are, my mother's uh, was born in Germany. She became a U.S. citizen in 1965, right there in El Paso, at the El Paso courthouse, because my dad was stationed at White Sands Missile Range. My dad was born in the United States, but his parents are German heritage. He was stationed in Germany, and that's how he met my mother through a cousin. So, you know, going to El Paso, going to White Sands was my mom's first experience with the United States. And of course, like I said, she became naturalized there, gave up her German citizenship. But she also joined the German American Club there because there were German scientists, German Air Force, um, after World War II that were brought to White Sands Missile Range, brought to Fort Bliss. And they just left just a couple years ago. They've been there for decades, decades and decades. And Alexander Gerhard Hofmann wrote was one of those Germans that came over. And my mom has a lot of memories about the German American Club. So we knew that the Germans were there in El Paso for a long time. And you'll see a lot of German names mixed with some of these cartel names and everything because of this this fact. And this is his body um, right here at the west entrance, coming into the west entrance of the Walmart on that day. Okay, I blocked it out. I just put his face there because it's pretty gruesome. And right here, you see a shadow with a baby. This is a baby here, and you'll see it in the video I'll show you. But this is the entrance, right? This is right after the shooting occurred. And the narrative is that this was white supremacists. Well, against Mexicans. Well, you know, Alexander Gerhard Hofmann, he's German. He's German. He's not Mexican. Okay. He's not Hispanic. And this was a targeted hit. This was a targeted hit. He was missing half his head. Okay. Um, Absolutely targeted hit. Professional hit. Okay. Not something that someone like a Patsy could do. And this is the entrance. And you will see this guy here. They're just walking around. They're walking over um, the crime scene all over the place. And this guy has just run down this hall carrying this baby, running out, and um, and no one stopped him, even though there was a cop there. There was a cop that came, police. They did not secure the crime scene for over 2 days, y'all. It took them over 2 days to secure the Walmart crime scene. And we know for a fact that Jaime Esparza, the DA, walked this crime scene, right, before it was secured. This is so criminal, this tampering. And we know through what we have filed that this was a staged crime scene. And you can see in these pictures that something more happened way after the initial shooting of Gerhardt. And I would say the Anchondos are in here. That's very clear. We have pictures of the Anchondo couple, Jordan and Andre Anchondo, who have very close connection to the medical examiner Mario Raskin Ortiz. Okay, who's a cartel guy, who's illegally in this country, who's illegally in that position, getting paid about $500,000 a year of taxpayers' money, and he is unqualified and illegally in this country. Okay, and cartel. Absolutely cartel ties with the funeral home, mortuary affairs people, this whole fraud stuff, right? So, why they targeted on Chandos, I don't know. I don't know if they were going to talk about what they knew, because of course President Trump was the president at the time, and they were under immense pressure because of all of the investigations that he was doing, and the arrests, the warrants for arrests at the time. And so, just a lot was going on. So I don't know. I don't know. That would all need to be investigated. I can only speculate, right? And, um, I, I don't like to call it speculate. I like to call it theorizing, criminally creating a theory, right? Creating a crime theory. And I think that any good investigator does that. So, yeah. So let's go to the next one. Okay, did I get that one? Oh yeah, this is really a good one too. Um, Look at this. I gotta really get it to where you can see it. There you go. Look at this. They told us with the Walmart mass shooting that there were, make sure that I'm on. Thank you. Was live. Why does it say that? I want to make sure I'm not talking to myself.